Okay, so it should be up on YouTube in a second.
So welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. We are all good. Okay, good. Welcome, everybody, to what are we talking about today?
Today's day 2 of a video series, and we'll talk about the connection between crookedness and unsoundness.
It's like the chicken or the egg, you know. Well, I guess the rider, of course, wanted the chicken and the egg, but it's like, Sorry, you jump in, Thomas. I just ran in from doing chores, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, we talked yesterday a little bit about how straightness is interlaced with all the other aspects of the training scale and balance and throughness and so on. And today we'll expand a little on that. When a horse is crooked, it has a lot of negative effects on the rideability, right? A crooked horse will lean on one rein and won't bend in one direction. He'll be hard and uncomfortable to sit because the hind legs don't function properly as a shock absorbing system. They may not be able to do certain upper level movements, or they can do them in one direction but not the other. Like a typical example would be a half pass or a flying change. If a horse is crooked, they might be able to do a half pass or a flying change in one direction, but not really in the other. Like in the other direction, then it will be a leg yield instead of a half pass. So the flying change will be laid behind or won't happen at all. Things like that, right? If you're a jumper and your horse is crooked, the horse may not be able to jump very high and knock down the rails, right? Whereas if the horse is functionally straight, he'll be able to jump a lot higher because he uses his muscles more efficiently and evenly.
And his joints, muscles and joints.
But much more importantly, much more important is that the straight horse stays sounder longer, because if the horse is crooked, it's an imbalance, which means that one side of the body is used more than the other. Because, as one end of the horse leaves the line of travel, it affects the weight distribution, right? If the shoulder drifts to the right, the horse will lean on the right shoulder, right front. Or if the pelvis drifts to the left, the horse will also lean on the right shoulder, because the left hind leg will then just idle. It's like a spare tire. It's sort of there, but it runs next to the body, and it's not really participating, right? And if the left side of the body is not doing its fair share, then the right side of the body has to work overtime.
Especially the front leg.
The front leg on the stiffer side is the one that carries the largest share of the burden of the weight, combined body mass of horse and rider.
And of course, the front legs aren't made to be able to absorb weight. I mean, naturally, the horse carries more weight on the forearms. But in our training, we want to transfer the weight onto the hindquarters, because the hindquarter joints, the way they're set up, they're made to be able to compress and take the weight. Whereas the front legs, they don't bend this way. They don't bend when they take the weight. They're actually straight when they take the weight. So over time, this creates wear and tear on the joints and tendons.
So, and from this uneven weight distribution, you can deduce, potential health risks, and you see them in practice, of course, too. So the front leg on the stiffer side, since it has to carry the largest share of the body mass, and it will hit the ground fairly hard because it's not supported enough by the hind legs. So you can expect to see tendon damage or ligament damage in that front leg. If the horse has to work hard, they can tear a suspensory ligament, and in the long run, you will see a ring bone, for example. So arthritic conditions or
hoof problems,
navicular disease, or navicular syndrome. So just because the leg has to work harder than the other 3 legs, that's why it will potentially give out eventually. Then the hind leg on that stiffer side, the convex side that carries the majority of the weight, tends to take shorter steps because that hind leg on the opposite side, the so-called hollow side, doesn't stay on the ground long enough. It doesn't support the body mass long enough. It doesn't push enough. So the hind leg on that convex side, stiffer side, has to touch down prematurely. So it doesn't reach under the body enough, so it can't really flex and support the body mass. So that weight-bearing phase is cut short, and it starts pushing pretty quickly. And on that hind leg, the risk of spavin in the hock is pretty significant. And wind puffs, would also develop potentially in that hind leg, especially if the rider tries to half halt into that hind leg when it's already behind the vertical. Because since it steps short, it won't touch down far enough in front of the vertical, so that window of opportunity where the half halt can go through will be very short, and the rider will probably miss it a lot of the time. And then if you half halt while the hind leg is pushing and extending, it will damage the joints and the tendons. So that's susceptible. And the hocks and the fetlocks are not protected by large muscle groups like the hip and the stifle. So, and they're smaller, of course. They're smaller joints than the hip and the stifle, so they are more susceptible to wear and tear, to injury, than the big joints. Then the hind legs are the horse's shock absorption system. When both hind legs step towards the center of gravity, when they both step equally far under the body, and they flex and extend equally and sufficiently, then the gait becomes smooth and comfortable to sit. And then the horse can lift his back, and the hind legs and the back create the suspension system. In a sense, the back rises and swings, and then the horse is comfortable to sit. But if you have this unevenness where one hind leg moves next to the body, the other one steps short, then the back is not supported anymore, and the horse falls on the forehand, the back drops, back muscles atrophy. The horse might develop kissing spines as a result, things like that. So it has a number of potential health risks. What else? The uneven weight distribution, that results from crookedness. There's a lateral imbalance and a longitudinal imbalance, and when the horse is unbalanced, he has to brace his muscles, otherwise he falls down. Just like a rider who's not balanced has to grip with their legs and and hold on to the reins with their hands in order not to fall down. And so that can create chronic muscle tension, and it will create a very uneven development of the musculature. Muscles just grow or atrophy according to the way they're used. So a muscle that has to work more will usually grow bigger. A muscle that is underused will stay the same or atrophy.
Or the muscle that's used more will actually take too much of the burden and get sore and agitated, can get tight, and I have to shut the door.
So uneven muscle development, that will also then cement that crooked posture, the unbalanced posture. And so if you look at the horse's muscle development, you may see that on the stiffer side, the shoulder muscles and the croup muscles will be bulkier, and on the concave, the hollow side, they will be atrophied.
It can be really useful to stand behind your horse and take a picture, and compare, see if you can get somebody to stand in front or tie the horse if the horse will stay still. And so that you can really see the horse's spine right in front of you, and then you can really compare the muscling on each side. It's very telling. It's very interesting. Good diagnostic.
And if the muscles are unevenly developed, and have uneven tension, if some muscles are permanently tense and braced, that can create chiropractic problems, for example, too. They can pull the spine out of alignment. And so it has a whole bunch of
secondary, indirect
exactly.
effects, that can then turn around and cause other unsoundness issues. This can cause behavioral issues in the horse, which then can cause unsoundness because the horse will be reacting adversely to various things. It can cause back soreness, all sorts of things.
And uneven growth in the feet, uneven angles, uneven wear and tear.
Which, of course, over time causes
like
unsoundness.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me see. Nobody really on YouTube, but one person.
Hello, the one person on YouTube.
And let me just check comments here on Zoom. Francis says, will there be in-hand exercises too on the course? They're all written exercises, but you can do them in hand.
Many of them.
In the Straightness Course.
Many of them. We have some people that do the whole course, basically, most of it in hand or at the long range. Most people do it riding, but there are a few people that do it all on the ground. One person did it, most of it Liberty too.
Yeah, could be. It's a long time ago, I think. Yeah.
Actually. So, you can get creative about it. But we don't have specific in-hand exercises in this course, although we do have a whole module on how straightness affects the work in hand and how you can address crookedness with work in hand. So we do have a whole module on that.
Yeah, so Agnita Bondi says, my horse pushes the right shoulder into the circle going on the right rein and does not use the right hind leg as much. Right lead canter is better. What does this indicate? If the horse falls in on a circle to the right, he's probably stiff right and hollow left. That would be sort of the standard symptom. And the right hind leg will stay a little out behind, and it won't carry as much, it won't step under the body as much, but it will push more. So, and then since the horse leans to the right, the right side will probably be more muscled, and it's sometimes more difficult for the horse to pick up the canter on the lead of the stiffer side, but sometimes once they're in it, the canter is actually better. Like in our German canter course, we have a lady now with a horse where that is the case, where it's a little bit more challenging to get the horse to pick up the right lead. But once he's in the right lead, he can last longer and he's more stable than on the left lead. He picks up the left lead very easily. And then after 3 or 4 strides, he breaks back to the trot because it's just not strong enough. The inside hind leg is the more carrying one, and the outside hind, the more pushing one in the canter. So if the stronger hind leg is the outside one, then it's easier for that strong hind leg to lift the body up into the canter. And for the weaker hind leg, if you're cantering on the stiffer side, then the weak hind is on the outside, that it might be harder to lift up into the canter. But then once you're in the canter, the inside hind has to catch the body mass when it comes down. And if that stronger hind leg is now the inside hind, then that sometimes makes it easier for the horse. And once it's in that lead, to stay in that lead and to keep cantering. So that's probably what's going on, I would think. Tracy, Mutum says a saddle correctly fitted to a horse with a raised back starts to show jump, then becomes crooked, hollow, and becomes sore. The saddle is usually blamed for tension in the back and lumbar. Could this not be the saddle, but the crookedness? Yeah, most likely. Most likely. So, yeah. Well, I mean, you already stated, right? The horse starts to show jump and then becomes crooked and hollow and becomes sore. It sounds like the jumpers probably didn't do much gymnastic work. They often don't, like whatever flat work they do, some do, but whatever flat work they do is usually just riding big ovals, walk, trot, and canter around the ring. There's not a lot of thoughtful gymnastic training going on. And then if you ride only single track straight ahead and so on around the ring, then the horse will get crooked, because it's very, very difficult to really balance and straighten the horse if all you do is ride straight on big lines. Super difficult to do. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if then the horse became more crooked and dropped the back. And then, of course, the saddle won't fit anymore. It's like if the saddle was fitted correctly before the horse started jumping and went down that path, the saddle won't fit anymore after a few months, probably, if the gymnastic training isn't kept up, or if nobody works on the horse's straightness and suppleness. So,
right, you basically already know the answer.
Oh, Charlotte, hi. Charlotte says I did the whole straightness course in hand with one of my horses. He was rehabbing, so I had to adapt some of them, but the course works well to do from the ground as well.
There you go.
Yeah, most exercises you can adjust or adapt to the work in hand. Or we had in one of the German courses, we had a lady who did everything on the long rein. All the exercises basically. So yeah, it definitely can be done. Oops, let me check on YouTube. Okay. Back to Zoom. Yeah, do you have any questions so far? I know yesterday there were quite a bunch of questions that we couldn't even get to.
Yeah, that would be great. If you have questions about this topic or rollover questions from yesterday, that would be great.
Exactly.
Go ahead and post them. We can address those today. Yeah.
Also, let me see. I want to post that link for our course again.
Yes, you can, about the course. And I actually have a PDF for you today. Let me go grab the link and I'll send it to you. I have to go get it on my computer and send it to him. And so I'll be right back, and then you can post that for them.
Yes.
And then those of you watching on YouTube, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, so here's the link for the straightness course that we're running again. The last round is finished, and now we'll do it all again. So here, when you click that link, you can find all the information. It's 34 weeks this time. Each module is 2 weeks long, and then you get the next module. I think after each 2 modules there is 1 week where you don't get new material, so you have time to catch up and work through what you have. We have some Feldenkrais lessons in the course, as in most courses. We have lots of exercises. We have all the theory revolving around straightness, and we are adding mental imagery to this course too. So that's a new feature that we didn't have in the past. If you participated in the straightness course in the past, you get a coupon code for 80% off. And what else? Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of bonuses, and every night one drops off. So the sooner you sign up, the more bonuses you get, basically. Let me see here. Oh yeah, Francis says, is this possible to do both flying changes and the straightness course? Yeah, I think somebody asked that last night too. They actually work together really well, because if the horse isn't straight, you will have trouble with flying changes in one direction at least. Like I mentioned earlier, if the horse can only bend well in one direction, or can only move the croup easily in one direction, then you'll be able to get the flying change into that hollow direction pretty usually, successfully. But from the hollow side to the stiffer side, you'll run into problems if the horse is crooked. So straightness and flying changes work together really well. And so Francis also asked, will I be able to keep both going at the same time? I would, you can. If you feel a little overwhelmed by the amount of exercises, and I would pick and choose the ones that flying changes and straightness. Choose the ones that are most interesting or most inviting, that look the most fun. Yeah,
the nice thing about this run of the course, we're doing it a little bit differently. We spread it out over 34 weeks, and each module has between 2 and 5 exercises, and we have 2 weeks for each module. And then after every 2 weeks, we take 1 week off for integration, for you to catch up. And then in the middle of the course, we actually take, I think, 2 weeks off. So a longer break also. So there's lots of catch up time. You'll find that the exercises are actually really going to complement each other well. You may find that if you have too many exercises to try to do it, because you're still doing some of the previous exercises too, right? You may find that you decide that you're going to pick and choose. I'm going to take this one from flying changes and this one from straightness because these seem to work well for my horse right now. You have to, you know, use your noggin, you know?
Yeah, and you can always try all the exercises. If you feel like one is not resonating with you or the horse, or doesn't meet the needs of the horse, just put it on the back burner.
That's what I mean by using your noggin. Think about it.
You can always try it again 3 months later, 6 months later, because the time might come where that exercise will be brilliant for the horse, even though today it's a disaster, you know, that changes. So I would not stress overdoing all the exercise, but I would really select which ones seem to make the most sense for your horse, which ones look the most fun, the most interesting, the most inviting. You try them and then you play with them a little bit and say, I really like the way this makes the horse feel. I'll do this more, you know, regularly. And this one didn't really have any effect, so I won't do this for a while. Or this one is too hard. We'll put that aside. Or this one made my horse a little,
you know,
exactly. You can
ones
always
that are too
modify.
hard, you can say, okay, I'm going to take this element of it, and then I'll do a walk transition, do the rest of it at the walk because my horse finds that part hard. So you modify, you think about what your horse needs. You don't just ride the exercise, you ride your horse using the exercise, but you ride your horse. And you'll find that there are exercises, you might even like to piggyback them, like take one exercise from the Flying Changes course and immediately at the tail end of that exercise, you go into an exercise from the Straightness course, and then you know, then maybe let the horse rest and then turn around and do the same thing in the other direction. So you've basically made a longer exercise out of 2 exercises. This is what I do. You know, I like to take a couple things and integrate them weave them into my ride. And so, and I revisit these themes over and over through the ride in different ways.
In the beginning of the Straightness course, there are lots of diagnostic exercises to figure out how supple the hips and the shoulders are, how easy it is for the horse to shift the weight and change the bend and so on. And that matches really well with the Flying Changes course. They will also be diagnostically valuable for the Flying Changes.
Yes, of course, Straightness has a big role on Flying Changes. Exactly. And what I really love is that we start with the power of observation. So you're not getting in there and fixing things and adjusting and changing things. First, you're taking a step back and going, okay, let me really, really tune in and assess the situation, and not just what I think the situation is, but let me take stock of everything that I maybe wasn't aware of. So we give you lots of other things to look for and lots of other ways to find information. And so that you get a broader picture or maybe a clearer picture. So you're not just looking at a narrow picture, but you're looking at the whole picture. And that's what I really like about how we have structured this course, that we really start with observation for the horse and for the rider too. You know, we do a lot on observing your crookedness patterns, becoming aware, because awareness is the first step to change. You know, you don't go first with changing, you actually first need to observe, and you become aware, and already that awareness already starts the path towards the change. It's a very organic, natural process then.
So we have on the Q&As here, Alex Coyle says, I couldn't help myself. I signed up for the course, my third rider course. Yay. This is, I'm just wondering how far into a horse education under saddle can you start the Straightness course with them? Well, you can start them relatively early. You may have to modify exercises for a younger horse, you know, and maybe leave out some of the lateral work or simplify it.
Or reduce the angle, make it playful. Like when we start to get to lateral movements within the course, make them playful. I mean, a young horse can still do lateral movements in a playful in a playful, curious way, like, what happens if we move the shoulder over just a little? You know, it's a nice way to introduce lateral movements to the horse, to do it very playfully. But if you have a horse that's quite young, you might look at some exercises and say, okay, we're going to not do these ones, or we're going to do these ones very minimally at the walk playfully, but we're going to concentrate on these ones this week instead, and some from the previous weeks, because those were really effective. You're going to have to modify, you're going to have to use your awareness of your horse. Take stock, and you'll find that your horse's abilities will change through the course, of course. And so what your horse is able to do towards the end of the course will change. And like most of our course members know, and you know at this point, because you've already taken some of our courses, we have many repeat course offenders, you know, that take the same courses over and over and over. And they might not, the first time they take the course, they might not get all the way through. They might say, okay, you know, the horse keeps going, but I'm going to stick here with this module and spend a month or 2 months working on these things. And they still participate in the discussions and everything, but they don't do the exercises with their horse, because it's important, and we support this, to stay where your horse is. You ride the horse, you ride your horse's needs. And so, but then these people, you know, take the course again the next time it comes around. We always offer a really huge discount, alumni discount is what we call it. And so you can take the course again the next time and you get further, or even if you did all of the exercises, you do them again, but with a new eye. It's like fractal, you know, you repeat, you spiral, you keep coming to the same elements, the same exercises, the same things, but with a new awareness, a new perspective, and a new focus.
With the young horse, you could do some exercises in hand just to show the horse. Certain sidestepping exercises, for example, do it slowly at the walk to show the horse. And then select what the horse can do at the moment, see if you can simplify some of the exercises, and then keep the others for later, you know, because the horse will progress from year to year. And then from year to year, you'll be able to do more of the exercises, but there are some in there definitely that you can do with a relatively young horse, or that you can adapt for a relatively young horse.
Yes, Amira?
So then here Carla says, I've been trying to focus on not letting the shoulder drift. Sometimes I don't feel like using my knee and rein is enough. Would you place the whip on the overly bulging shoulder, or would you address another part of the body to support the aids?
We're going to adjust this on video 5.
You can. I mean, you can touch the shoulder. If the horse drifts through the outside shoulder, you can definitely touch with the whip on the outside. You can step into the inside stirrup. If you shift your weight more to the inside, then it's easier to unload that outside shoulder. And if you take the weight off of the outside shoulder, move it to the inside, then the outside shoulder will bulge less, right? You can counterbend, for example. What often works well too is if you move the horse around a little, counterbend, let the croup yield a little into the circle, so you have a bit of a counter shoulder in position, then maybe rotate the horse into a bit of a renvers position, and then maybe change the bend and ride a volte to the inside. So if you're moving the hips and shoulders around a lot, then you don't get into a static pushing pulling contest, so to speak, right? If the horse insists on drifting out and you insist on keeping the shoulder in, then it becomes a stalemate sometimes. Like the horse leans against you with her entire body weight, and then you have to use your whole body weight and strength to counteract that, and that doesn't go well, right? Because the horses are stronger and heavier than we are. So if you get into this pushing pulling contest, so to speak, you lose, right? But if you move around, you know, then you never give the horse anything solid to really lean or push against, you know, but you keep everything moving, which also means the horse has to constantly shift the balance and readjust the body and rebalance every few strides. So you keep the horse on her toes, and that has a suppling effect and keeps the horse lighter, or makes the horse lighter. And then that shoulder won't bulge quite so much. I mean, if a horse is really, really super insistent, you can also stop, turn the shoulder 90 degrees to the inside, and then think of full passing along the circle line. So the hind legs are out on the first track, and the front end is facing the center of the circle. So it's like a giant turn on the forehand in motion. And then you could either turn the shoulder back out, continue in the same direction, or you could go straight across the diameter of the circle and then turn either left or right. And then to play with that idea that by stopping, turning the shoulder, and then asking the entire horse to move away from your original outside aids, draws the horse's attention to her outside leg and hip and shoulder, and your outside leg and rein. And then gradually, as they pay more attention to those aids, they'll bulge less. So you can approach it in a couple of different ways. So then Maria says, my horse is stiff left. He's an ex-race horse, and medium canter has always been quite difficult to do smoothly. Now his medium canter on the right lead has improved a lot, but on the left he inverts and runs off. This makes sense now that through your courses I've started to understand more about straightness and hollow and stiff sides. Hope I have understood correctly. Yeah, makes sense. That medium canter is not so easy if he's an ex-race horse, and of course that's still a little bit in the back of his mind that the goal is to go as fast as possible. So, and
it taps into his other self, right?
And one side will be more balanced, the other side will be less balanced. And on the less balanced side, they tend to get quicker, tend to rush more. And so the more you straighten and balance the horse, the better the medium canter will become too. Anne-Marie says, I'm doing the straightness and flying changes course together to enhance my work and tempi changes. Yeah, it will help.
There you go. I mean, they support each other well. It's not like these are courses that are going to conflict with each other. The only thing that might conflict is you might not find you have enough hours in the day to do everything that you would like to do, So then you have to pick and choose.
Okay, Katie says, would it be crazy to try adding this to flying changes and canter course? Well, how much time do you have? How many horses do you have to ride? Then you might have to select exercises that make the most sense for your horse at the moment.
Are you looking for more to do, Katie? Of course, you're welcome to if you find that you're just aching for more. But if you're already a little bit at your overwhelm, then pause. Don't add more weight. Quality is better than quantity. So, right. So, the course will come around again, of course.
Karen Cheek says, I'm doing multiple courses and I'm busy with work, teaching and writing. There are so many benefits to each course. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've got a full schedule.
Yes.
With all these obligations. Huh?
Yeah.
Tracy Mutum says, is this course different exercises in the modules than the what, why, how? There's probably some overlap. I mean, we have some standard exercises that are in most courses because they're so basic.
Yeah, we have some that are in every course because they're just a core part of everything that we do. But
they're also separate courses, and the whole theory, the mental imagery, the Feldenkrais lessons, they're different,
We do everything through the kind of lens of straightness. So we're applying the same exercises, but looking at it specifically for straightness and dealing with crookedness. Of course, everything is interrelated. You can't take just straightness out and not work on everything else because it's all interconnected. But the difference between this and what, why, how is kind of the big overview. And then our topical courses, we go into a deep dive on these various topics. Like straightness, flying changes, what else do we have? Work in hand, all of these courses, canter course, contact and connection. There's others too. We have a lot of courses.
Charlotte says you actually learn a lot when you need to adapt the exercises.
Yeah, that's actually the beauty of it, and then we really encourage that. I want you all to become thinking riders. So not just to ride like a robot to ride the exercises, then you're no better than the people that you're criticizing that are doing things, in incorrect ways, right? What we want you to do is become a thinking rider that's tuning in, you're thinking, you're feeling, you're assessing, you're connecting with your horse on multiple levels and suiting the exercises for the horse each day. That means modifying and learning how to modify, learning how to take the elements of this exercise and the elements of this exercise and bring them together so you use them in a way that is suitable for what your horse needs right now. And that's what we aim to teach. That is our goal, to teach you how to really, really work with exercises as your medium, like a potter, works with clay as their medium, and they use the clay and shape it into all different things. But it's not about the clay, it's about what they make out of it. And the same thing, it's about what you make out of the exercises.
Yeah. Your horse guide here asks, what's the importance of straightness for the gait? Some articles only talk about canter versus straight.
Oh, good question.
It's a good question. The straightness helps you to develop the horse's gaits, helps to keep the horse sound too. But when both hind legs step under the center of gravity and flex and extend equally under the center of gravity, then gaits become more elastic, they become more expressive. You'll find that your horse can do a bigger, medium, and extended trot, because a crooked horse will extend to a point and then usually they start running. And then what you see is that the hind leg on the stiffer side is more powerful. And when the hind leg on the hollow side is maxed out, the hind leg on the stiffer side can still push a little bit more. They will also tend to rotate and become more crooked as the gait gets bigger, and then they break to the canter, right? So if you lengthen the stride in the trot, you've probably experienced horses then breaking into the canter, and that's just a crookedness issue usually. Whereas if you can keep the horse straight, he won't break into the canter, and you can get a little bit more medium trot, a little bit more lengthening out of the trot. Canter, same thing that we just talked about, how if the horse is crooked, he may drop the back and invert and run, whereas if he's straight, he will stay up and round and through the back, and you get an actual medium or extended canter rather than a gallop where the horse runs away from you. So when you see horses in the piaffe and passage where one hind leg lifts higher than the other, or one diagonal lifts higher than the other, that's a crookedness issue. So as you straighten the horse, their piaffe and passage become more regular. The passage becomes more expressive. A straight horse will develop more impulsion than a crooked horse. Straightness and suppleness, elasticity are prerequisites for real impulsion.
Because you're not losing the energy, right? It's not going through the incorrect bends. And
collection is better on a horse that's straight than on a horse that's crooked, because again, both hind legs step under the body and share the work.
The horse becomes more collected. As long as the horse is crooked, you can't truly collect the horse.
Yeah, good question though.
Great topic, actually.
Karen Cheek says taking multiple courses is a lot, but really gives my rides and teaching better focus. Gives you lots of tools to address lots of different issues, right, and to help a lot of different horses and riders with their problems.
It really helps you to integrate it even more, because you can learn through your students by applying it to your students with their horses. You learn a lot more, a lot faster that way. So great.
See, Carla Powell says, I have multiple courses and I'm going to be traveling, or I would take it again, but can I still participate in discussions in the Facebook group?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Facebook group, you have
always,
lifetime access to. Yeah, absolutely.
Says also many of my pod mates are redoing the course this time. Can we stay in this pod for this course?
I have no idea. I know that the pods will be reassigned. So have to talk to the team about that. Figure out how that's going to work. There's some value, I know, in keeping on with the same pod mates, but there's also some value to connecting with other people and making relationships with some other people, you get some different perspectives, you build some other connections. So we have to figure that one out. I don't know. Great question.
See, Alex Coyle says, thank you for answering my question. I will be doing the course this time with my 12-year-old mare, as she's very crooked, but I'm looking to buy a friend's very well-handled 4-year-old, not backed, and getting to know her and back her myself slowly. So I will probably be doing this course with her next time it's run.
Yeah.
Once she's backed and we're used to each other and have built up trust in one another. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no rush, right? With a 4-year-old who's not under saddle yet, that would be a little early. But as you start working with her at the lunge line and so on, you can already observe symptoms of crookedness. You can already try to help the horse become better balanced and straighter at the lunge line in hand. And then, of course, once you're on the horse's back, you can also, even with very simple tools, you can already help the horse become a little bit straighter, become a little bit more balanced. I mean, the young horse doesn't have a great repertoire of movements and exercises yet. You have to keep it very simple, but even within very simple circle, whole school and things like that, you can still use your seat and your aids and so on to help the horse become straighter. And if you understand the theoretical framework of the straightness and crookedness issue, and you develop the awareness for it, then you can sometimes catch things early and just with your seat and your aids and get the horse back on track, and then crookedness never gets out of hand.
Right. It doesn't become a bigger problem. And when you have this awareness in your mind, training the young horse, starting the young horse under saddle, you can already start to steer them in a better direction so that you prevent bigger problems from creating,
Yeah, so Spurs is asking, do you have a program just for developing the crooked horse? Well, this course is designed to straighten the crooked horse. So it gives you the whole theoretical background knowledge that you need in order to make the right decisions and choose the right exercises for your horse. And we have a large number of exercises to choose from that you can use to straighten your horse, and that's it. This course is really specifically for making the crooked horse straighter.
This is it.
And Marie says, I work on straightness in all exercises, no matter which course exercises I'm working on. Straightness course helped me work out what is going on to be able to influence the horse and improve the outcome of the exercise. Straightness plays a role in everything, right? And in everything you do, the horse can get crooked and will get crooked, and if you know what to look for, you can catch it early or prevent it, and keep the horse straight in whatever you're doing.
I should just say that the course isn't just exercises, right? There's a lot of theory. So you really develop your theoretical understanding. In a way, the exercises are just giving you the opportunity to implement what you're learning in the theory. But once you've learned this, you can apply this in any exercises that you're writing, whether it's even a 20-meter circle or just going around the arena. You can apply these principles and what you know in every exercise that you do, and you can start to come up with your own that will help address your horse's needs. And I sound like a broken record. That's our objective, to teach you how to use exercises, come up with your own, be able to select ones that are going to be right for your horse. We really want you to become thinking riders, thinking on the spot, and it takes time sometimes to develop this, but we're here to help you become that kind of rider who can really think about what your horse needs in each moment.
Janet Marie says, hello from Norway, can't wait to get started in this course. It's perfect timing. We're working on straightness, sitting and stretching, preparation for tempo changes, preparing 2 of my other horses to get up to barbells level. It will be fantastic to get pointers and exercises to develop their straightness, to get even better movements.
Very good.
My horses have developed so much since I first entered the contact and connection course, and many challenges. That's awesome.
Lovely.
It's nice
That's
to hear.
lovely.
You'll find that the straightness course will help all of your horses, and you'll see that when you do stuff like that with the advanced horses, their upper level movements will become easier and better quality. So if you compete, you get higher scores. You'll have a better success rate with flying changes and tempo changes.
Yeah.
Like whatever issues you have in flying changes or tempo changes, they're usually crookedness issues.
Yeah.
So the straighter the horse is, the cleaner your changes will become automatically, you know. So
The more reliable.
yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It all comes to crookedness
Yeah.
with the issues with the tempo changes, at least in my experience. Every issue I had was always a crookedness issue.
Yeah. Crookedness always plays a role in everything. And, you know, that's why we put this course together finally,
Yes.
because we always had to address the straightness in every question in the Q&A.
Well, actually, we had people
basically.
requesting, do you have a course about this? We're like, well, I guess we could make one, you know, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's of such central importance that it really makes sense to dedicate an entire course to it. And you'll see that a lot of other areas will improve in the horse's training, and a lot of problems will diminish or disappear, even if you didn't realize that they were related to crookedness, but suddenly miraculously they're gone. So just by working on this. Yeah. And, you know, a horse not wanting to bend in one direction, a horse having trouble picking up the canter on one lead, you know, that's all crookedness related, you know. So some cases it's very, you know, obvious and blatant. In other cases, it's very subtle, like the Piaffe, you know, the horse lifting one hind leg a little higher than the other. It's just crookedness, right?
But the thing is, that's always there to a degree. We're just making it smaller and smaller and smaller degrees. Even when you watch the very best in the world, if you really watch, you can see the crookedness issues. In fact, in this course, we have some really cool bonuses. And by the way, I should mention, one bonus drops off with each night. So tonight, a bonus. One of the bonuses that we have is called the virtual virtual Eleve packet. And these are recordings of commentaries we did, watching videos and commenting on what we see going on. And we did Nuno Oliveira, Spanish Riding School, the Portuguese School of Equestrian Art, a bunch of the Olympic rides, before and afters of people like Charlotte Dujardin. We have a whole bunch more coming over the next year or two that we'll be adding to it. But in there, when you watch, you learn so much about straightness and crookedness because you see it, and we stop the video and we explain, see what's going on here. And then we go back and say, you can see that this happened. The horse bulged through the shoulder a little bit here. And this is the effect one stride later. You can see it. Or the rider, you know, is compensating for the horse's crookedness here. You can see the effect of that here. So you really develop your understanding that way.
So here Maria says, as I was mounting my young horse, I felt the crookedness immediately. With my mares, I've tried to figure it out the last year. Maybe the light bulb finally enlightened as I was looking at him with new eyes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, sometimes if you take a break from a horse and ride others, then you come back to it with fresh eyes and you see more, and you maybe connected a few more dots in the theoretical understanding and so on. My
understanding always improves when I take a break.
Yeah. Charlotte says the Feldenkrais lessons will help the rider to become aware of his or her asymmetries, which is also important in working on the horse's straightness. Yes, exactly. That's why we incorporated them, because the horse can only be as straight as the rider, or as supple in their pelvis as the rider, or as, you know, ambidextrous as the rider is. So you cannot work just on the horse's asymmetries. You kind of have to work on your own too. You know?
Yeah, every module has Feldenkrais exercises for the rider, and curated yoga lessons that we've selected. They're not our own. They're lessons that we selected that are really good to complement what we're doing in the course. And this time around, we're also adding rider imagery lessons where we take, did you talk about this?
You mentioned it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, where we take images like the carousel horse is one that we use, or the sailboat. We have a whole bunch. if you like images, if they work for you, you'll find that some of these are really, really perfect for what you're working on. We have some new ones coming up, and we're reusing some other images we've used in other courses, but applying them towards straightness specifically in this course. So that's a new addition that we're doing this time around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm checking YouTube again.
A couple comments.
Yeah, Tracy
Hi,
Farrell
guys.
says, so catch up on the first bit I missed from the recording. Says, I love these courses for the knowledge and friendliness of the readers and their community. And yes, the courses are addictive.
Yeah, I know.
That's good. Very cool.
Yeah, these courses are addictive, I know.
Karen Cheek wants to know if we have a course for Piaf and Passage.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. Maybe we'll
In the works
eventually do that.
Yeah.
But we have other things we have to do first.
Yeah, to complete out the program, of course, we'll have Piaf and Passage, but there's so many other pieces we want to put into place first. So yeah. Coming.
Janet Marie says, dude, Elrond is working on collected trot or extended trot. He really sits well and has become very good at collecting that. Is there a point in the course you will go through aids to get them more expressive yet light and collected? That's not so much a focus of the straightness course. You may find that they become more expressive and collected just as a result of being straighter. But I mean, if you have a question about that, you can always ask that in the course. It's not part of the course content, but we can talk about it, of course, in the Q&As or
that's the thing.
in the Facebook group.
18 Q&As in this course, and the Q&As are, we get together bi-weekly. They're usually every other week. And the Q&As are for all of our actively running courses, and which means that you get to hear questions from people that are in other courses, and you can ask questions that are not directly related to the content in this course. Maybe you have an issue with your Piaf and you want to ask about it. We're going to answer that. We're not going to say, wait, no, you're in the straightness course, we can't answer that question. Well, you can basically, it's all connected. We need to be able to address the whole horse, the whole rider, the whole training. And so we can answer all of your questions.
Yeah, and to get more expressive gaits, the horse has to be well balanced, straight, and very supple and well connected to the ground and the weight, so that when you turn up the heat, so to speak, you turn up the power, then the increase of power gets channeled into bigger, more expressive movements and not into heavier, rein contact and horse leaning on you and so on. So if there is an imbalance, or if there's a stiffness or blockage, and you ask for more power, more movement, then it will increase that resistance usually. Right?
If the horse is crooked, and if the horse doesn't accept the half halts, if the half halts don't really truly help the horse to collect back, then when you ask for more power, you're going to end up with a train going downhill, you won't get what you want. First, you have to develop the horse's straightness, and you have to develop the horse's ability to accept the half halt for the aids to come through into the hind legs, which is something that we cover in our contact and connection course. Of course, we address it in this course too, because all the courses are connected, but that's really the kind of the focal point of the contact and connection course, about developing that contact, that it really goes correctly through from back to front, but also that the aids go from front to back correctly.
Yeah. Well, more questions.
I sent you in a message, Thomas, the link to the PDF. Let's drop the PDF link for them.
I think I did already.
Oh, you did? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's a little
You're
ways
fast.
up now.
Maybe drop it again just in case. And I will be sending out the link to the PDF as an email, and also in the little Facebook Messenger group if you joined that. Not everybody was able to figure out how to join it. It depends on what device you were on. Weird. So, but if you're on our email list, I'll be sending that out in a little bit.
So Francis wants to know, how soon would you see a change if the training was regular? Well, you see incremental changes in every ride. In every ride, the horse will end up straighter and more supple and more balanced than you started.
Yeah.
But over, I don't know, 4 weeks, or you will already see a change in the horse, and in 3 months, you should definitely see a bit of a transformation.
There's no cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Horses are individuals. It depends on where the horse is now. It depends on how ingrained their habitual movement patterns are, how ingrained your habitual movement patterns are. There's no direct recipe, like you add, half a teaspoon of this and a quarter teaspoon of that and this and cook it at this degree, and you're going to get this in this amount of time. Riding horses training is not like that. So you will see changes. How long it takes, it all depends on how ingrained the crookedness is.
Yeah, see, Karen Cheek says, I'm often urged to ask more power, but it doesn't feel right if all the elements of balance and straightness aren't there. Yeah, go with your feel, your instinct. You can always try it, of course. You can ask the horse if she could give you a little bit more.
Ask for 1%, 2%. Just don't ask for, okay, let's go. Extended trot. Say, can you give me 2% more? Just a little bit, so that if it goes badly, you can quickly bring the horse back. It's manageable, right?
And what often happens is when you ask for more power, the horse doesn't quite understand at first, and then they go a little faster, or they lean a little because they're pushing more, but they're not flexing and carrying more. So then you have to maybe follow the driving aid with a half halt and tell the horse, no, don't get faster, keep your tempo, just put a little bit more energy into it, or work a little harder, but don't lean on me, carry yourself, right? So you may have to follow the driving aid with a half halt, and sometimes after a half halt, the horse takes the foot off the gas, so to speak, and then they lower their power output, and then you may have to say, no, that's not what I meant, right? Half halt does not mean go to sleep. That means keep going with the same amount of energy, but maybe slower tempo, keep your hind legs on the ground longer, or whatever, or flex your hind legs more. So you may have to then explain one thing with another thing, so to speak, and to make it very clear to the horse what you're aiming for exactly. So that's why, don't think it was a mistake to ask for more if the horse responds by getting a little faster or getting a little heavier. Just it's part of the learning process. You just try and rebalance. In
fact, it's valuable information. It tells you what the horse still needs to understand so that he can accommodate your request. So we're always working to shape the horse's response. So when you ask for more forward, and then when the horse starts to push too much or fall on the forehand or get too strong, a half halt helps to explain to the horse what we want. That I want forward, but I want you to keep bending your hind legs.
Exactly.
So we're always shaping the horse's response.
And so Karen says a little more works. It's those trainers who expect the horse to zoom around. Dilemma is that maybe I go too easy. Or you can always ask exploratory questions. Ask the horse, is it possible to give me a little bit more? And then if you ask for more, and then rebalance, and then the horse feels good at a little bit higher energy level, maybe ask for a little bit more, and then try to find out where is the limit today. How much power can she give me without losing the quality of the gait, without leaning, without running away, without getting tense. Exactly.
I like to start with the swinging element of the horse's back and say, how much can I add to this? Like I'm trying to always add to it. So like, can I ask for more amplitude? Can I ask for just a tiny bit more energy within the swing? So I really focus on the swing and keeping this rhythm exactly the same, but can I add just a little bit snappier, and it's just a little bit, and here and there, it's like here and there,
if you make a little bit
here
more
and there, and so I build the impulsion and the power gradually this way.
If you make more room for the horse's back with your seat by emphasizing the upward motion in your body, then often the legs of the horse start to move more powerfully automatically, because now there's more space. As the back lifts more, the hind legs can punch through more.
You make the space so that if you give the softest driving aid, it doesn't even have to be much, a soft driving aid at that moment, the horse responds with a hind leg that's really ready to come through, because you created the space the ability in the back to let the hind leg come through, if that makes sense to you. So, but you ask in small increments, you know, you don't want to throw something at the horse that the horse is going to go, okay, you know, of course you're going to get a bad outcome, you know, yeah. And a lot of people, they go for the big response because in the show ring, you want to be able to show, you know, your collected trot, extended trot, and collected trot. And the judges really want to see it very precise. They want to see a big change within a stride or two. But you don't get there by starting with the big change. You get there by building it gradually over time, incrementally, systematically, step by step, with good quality, good work.
Yeah, the quality of the gait is always the gauge that's important. You don't want to sacrifice the quality for flash or power or whatever. And you know, if you feel like I'm losing quality, then you go back, make it simpler, reduce the power, you know, regroup, and then, you know, back and forth. And then over time, the horses develop the strength and the balance and so on to give you bigger gaits, you know.
And with that, guys, we need to wrap it up. So that's all for today. We're going to be back again tomorrow with the next one. So we'll see you all then. And click on the link, grab the PDF, consider signing up for the Straightness course that begins on February 14th. If you're watching this way after this date, click on the link because it might take you to something else anyway. It might take you to the next one or the wait list for the next one. So check it out. So thank you. Love you all. Bye.
We'll see you not tomorrow, but the day after.
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, yeah, it's tomorrow. Okay.
And the day after.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
We'll see you then.
Every day until Wednesday.